Okay, Perek Yudalid. Yeah, we gotta get into it. Alter Rebbe, every word is very precious. So Yudalid, Vihine, Midas Habenini. Yeah, you'll treffen das. The Midah of the Benini. Midah is like a size, you know. It's a one size fits all. It's Midas Kol Adam. This Midah of the Benini, it's not a Madrega because that's the basic. It's Midas Kol Adam. It's a size for every person. Every person to be a Benini. V'achareha Kol Adam Yimshech. Every person darf sich ziehen. That should be your goal. You should strive towards Benini. You know, when we learn Tanya, we always, like every Perek becomes separate. But you know, Perek Yud Gimel finished about Emes. And the Alter Rebbe said that Emes is the center, the core of everything, is its truth. That's why Emes is relative. Because your essence is not his essence. Every person is different. So in that sense, every person, the Beinani is the essence, is the truth of every person, to be in your truth. Yeah. Every person could be a Beinani, b'kol esav, b'kol shah, at all times. Yeah. So, first of all, Alter Rebbe's Lashon is very meduyik, every detail. So I saw two opposite ways of reading this beginning. There are three types of Beinani we spoke about last week. There's a Beinani who's a Balesik. He works, he has a store, he has a business, he's ehrlich, he doesn't steal, he has a Kriya Sitim Latera, he davens in Shul. He's a Beinani. Then you have a Beinani that's a Yeshiv Oil, a Leren Teirah. Then you have a Beinani, Hamaspalo Kol Hayoim, that he has Avos Hashem all day, because he's mamish. Yeah. So the Alter Rebbe says like this: Midas HaBeinani is Midas Kol Adam. Every person could be a Beinani, the Baal Esek. V'acharei Kol Adam Yimshech. Every person should strive to be a Yeshiv Oil. Every person should strive that their Machshava Dibur U'Maisa of the whole day should be about Torah. A Baal Esek, he's not busy with learning, but he should strive to the higher level of Beinani, that is Machshava Dibur U'Maisa. What's he busy with? He's busy with the Torah. And yeah, Kol Yachal is Beinani B'chol Esav B'chol Shah. He's saying, and then there's even the highest level. To be a Beinani, every moment that's like the Beinani and the Spal of Kol Hayon. You could be even on the highest level. And then on the other hand, I saw the opposite from the Lekach V'Alibov, Rabbi Yudasin. He says the opposite. Miras HaBeinani, Miras Kol Adam. What happens if a person already did Avedas? So V'acharei Kol Adam Yimshech. Even if you did Avedas before, you should strive to be the Beinani. Yeah. Okay. Why could it be a Beinani at all times? The Beinani, he doesn't hate Ra. It's not disgusting. For Ra to be disgusting, it's a madrega. The average person, not only he doesn't do it, he can't. It's a heartfelt thing. It's not the same for every person. Every person sometimes loses their appetite. You know, when you're sick. Every person could lose their appetite. Rahman al-Islam, when a tragedy happens, when someone passes away, you know, you're not in the mood of eating. You know, people who are depressed, they're not. So every person could experience at a certain point a lack of, they don't have a Taivas Elam Hazeh, you know, like, in the Mitna Perek Tanya, the Maslow hierarchy. But when a person is in danger, he's not thinking of being cool, you know, and someone's running after you with a gun, you're careful if your pants have a nice crease. So mitamol, you have Baal Madrege, you don't have Taivas. But like Kol Ha'itim Shabbos, it's not always the same. For Atzad and Gomer.
So exactly. Essentially, you're just saying it's only a tzaddik that could have mois. It's not the other way around. It's not even a question.
Right. I want to say, don't think that a Beinoni...
Instead of saying that a Beinoni and this guy is their mois towards Ra, whatever, the only one who can have a hatred towards Ra is a tzaddik, essentially.
Right. In other words, to be Mos Bara is a result of having Avos Hashem. When a person has such strong Avos Hashem, we're talking about Ava Betanugim, not even Ava Karish Be'esh. When a person has such incredible Avos Hashem, that they, mamish, when they sit with Torah, they're pouring with emotion, with love for the Eibishter. So then, in other words,
the opposite of that.
Right. They don't sit and meditate on how to figure out that Gashmi is this ugly.
It's automatic.
Yeah, it's a natural. So for the Beinoni who doesn't have that Avos Hashem, like later in this parak, the Alter Rebbe is going to say, I'm going to give you eitzes to be Mayas Bara. But it's like, it's not real, right? It's not real.
It's a timely,
limited
time.
Right, to us, I just want to, the reason I also said it that way is because we also feel that way. We're not every second open to every taiva. Sometimes we're not in the mood. Like, sometimes it's Mos Bara. I don't mean you ate so much chocolate.
Right, but it's not about, you said it,
but
it has to be consistent.
Shabbos, right, that's right. Ella, sur meira v'asei tov. It's about doing the right thing. Doing doesn't mean action with your hands and feet. Doing means thought, speech, action. Dehainu b'poel mamish b'maisa diburu machshava. Shebahem, when it comes to maisa diburu machshava, habechira, v'hayecholos, v'harishus nesuna l'chol adam. Bechira is in moichin. Yeah, bechira is in the brain. Yecholos is in the emotional capacity. V'harishus nesuna, to expedite practically. This expression of a Rashus Nesuna l'chol adam, I couldn't find it, but I remember seeing once from the Rebbe a little bit. I don't think it was a back and forth, but it was something with Rabbi Groner. He wrote into the Rebbe a shayla about what the word Rashus means over here, and he got like a very sharp answer back from the Rebbe. Like he wrote to the Rebbe that he asked people and whatever, and there's nishtakin klorket, like he has to go to the Rebbe because no one has what to say, and the Rebbe was like so sharp because this is the lashon the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva. He opens up one of the parakim that harishus nesuna l'chol adam. Everyone is, in other words, the field of good and evil. It's open to you. Choose. Whatever
by you copying out is not that it's not explained. It's just you decided that it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable, so you want to find another explanation.
So that's on a basic level. On a basic level, the Rambam is saying there are paths. There are two paths. You know, when a person doesn't have Veda, the Eibusha doesn't stone you. So you want to walk down that path, you can walk down that path, and you can walk down the path of tzaddik. The roads are open before you. It's not too difficult to do the right thing, and you're not going to be struck down if you do the wrong thing. It's open to you. You know, Rishus Nesuna. The people that are like aligning it a little bit with the spheres are saying that Bechira is in the mind, Yecheles is in the heart, and the Rishus is in Maisa B'Poel. Rishus Nesuna. Lasois, Uledaber, Velachshev, Gam, Mashu, Negativis Libe. You could think also things that are Negativis Libe and the Afocha Mamish. So sometimes it's a little bit idle. Sometimes you want to do one thing and you do another thing. It's not completely against. You modified. In other words, I'm not going to eat now, I'm going to eat in 10 minutes. Hafacha mamish you completely defy. You could also completely defy. You could do afocha mamash. Kigam b'sho shalev chaymed misave eze taiva gashmis. Even mamash at the time, right this moment, a person has a taiva. The heter, a person has taivas heter. Included in the avoida of a beinani is to distance himself from taivas heter. Alter Rebbe is going to speak about it more later. He spoke about it before in Perek Zayin. When a person gets involved with taivas, he's becoming a merkava to klippa. There are different levels in klippa. It's not completely separate, but you removed yourself a little bit. So you could push him, he his gaber, he could distract himself. He could say to himself like this. I don't want to be a Rasha. Now this speech, this is like what the Gemara says, that when your Yetzer Hara is getting in your face, you have to put him in his place. You have to make a declaration. I don't want to be a Rasha. Eineni reitze lias Rasha afilu shoah achas. Ki eineni reitze. We had the Lashon. Yeah. Ki eineni reitze lias muvdul v'nifrat chas v'shalom. I don't want to separate myself. Me Hashem echad b'shum ofen. I don't want to allow such a thing. Kidiksiv. What does it say in the pasuk? Aveinei seichem hayu mavdilin. So Avedas separate completely. And just like an Aveda separates completely, the Taivas separate us in smaller amounts. But it's also a separation. Rak. Ani reitze, I want to lidavka bei, I want to be connected to Hashem in nafshi and ruchi v'nishmasi, in my mind, in my emotions, and in my actions. Nafshi is in my actions, ruchi in my emotions, and nishmasi in my mind. How am I going to do that? How am I going to be close to Hashem? B'hislapshon, I will invest them. I'm going to put all my koiches b'shleisha levusha v'yizbarech. I'm going to invest them. I'm going to be an active soldier of the Eibishter in all my capacity. She'maisa diburu machshava b'Hashem. My machshava is going to be about Hashem. My dibur is going to be b'tayrasai. I'm going to learn Torah. And my maisa is going to be mitzvah. And what's this going to be driven by? It's going to be motivated me'ava mesuteres shebelibi la'Hashem, because I have an ava mesuteres. Now here,
but it's not driven by that. It's driven by the fact that you don't want to be a Rasha,
right?
And that will cause, but it's not.
Right. You're right. So now, if the ava is hidden, first of all, how do I know I have it? Imagine someone comes to tell you, you have something, but it's hiding. You don't know. If I don't know, who says I have it? So the Alter Rebbe is going to bring some proofs that we have it, and then he's going to speak about this point that you're saying, that
what triggers it,
right? But it's not operating. How do I get it to operate?
Right, but it triggers the fact that you at least know where it is.
If I would be challenged in an Inyan of Avodah Zarah,
then it comes down.
Right, it would wait. Right. So Alter Rebbe says, "K'mei belev klolis Yisrael."
How to activate it?
Yeah, the Yidden are referred to as Eyav Ishmecha. Right. We go back to this every once in a while. That by the Rebbe has this way of always looking at things back in the natural, like where you belong. You know, like someone was telling me, maybe was it Shabbos here or something? That somebody went to the Rebbe and asked the Rebbe if he should go to yeshiva. Who was saying that? And the Rebbe said, somebody passed the Rebbe about tshuva, whatever it was, and the Rebbe answered with like a shtarkai that every person has to be at least a year in yeshiva. Like, how are you going to be a Jew? You know, like the Rebbe said it as a akorazach.
You gotta get the stamp.
That's it. It's not, go a yid. Where do you belong? A child belongs by his parents. Whatever. Everyone has their, the husband's role, the wife's role, the grandparents' role. Everyone has their place. That the place is a natural place. It's it's not. We're not forcing people into positions. And the Rebbe is saying, and what the Rebbe is saying is a yid naturally, a yid not called. Even though in the Tilim, when he calls Oyev Ishmecha, the Pashtus is speaking about tzaddikim, right? But all Yidden are called those who love Hashem. And now he's bringing another proof. We find that even ordinary people, it says Kal Shebakalim, I'll type it correctly. Kal Shebakalim means a person that does not take mitzvah seriously. He treats mitzvahs carelessly. And he's a Kal Shebakalim. Among people who treat mitzvahs carelessly, he's even a Kal Legabe them. So Vafilu Kal Shebakalim is Yachalim Senafshat Hashem. We find people Akal Shebakalim, the famous Ma'aser Yosel the Ganav, whatever it was, they caught him he gambled in the Kleister, right? He's not going to shmad. Other similar stories, that we see incredible. Now, so we see that there's such a thing of Avon Mesuteres. And he says, "V'lei neifel anechi mimenu bevada." I'm not lower than him. If the Kal Shebakalim has a Avon Mesuteres, has something that wakes up, I'm not worse than him. So
and by this, the point is specifically what we said, Oyev Shmecha.
No, I also have an Avon Mesuteres.
No, I know, but the Avon Mesuteres that gets triggered by the Kal Shebakalim and everything, it's not through the mitzvahs. It's dafka through the shmecha. It's dafka when you question God's name. It's when you deny the name of God. That's that's the trigger. That's when it gets. Well, so that shows that even. No, I'm saying it's a bit of a raya of why it's called Oyev Shmecha.
The pashtus of the pasuk is people who love Hashem. They're referred to as those who love expression Oyev Shmecha. We say Hashem. Hashem is the name.
I understand, but I'm saying specifically when you see a name is.
He's going to say now.
The Eibishter, right, is all his Torah and mitzvahs, everything's koil, but that's not what they're getting excited about. They're getting excited about when you say just the Eib. No, you're saying the Eib. What's already the Zara? You're denying the Eibishter's name.
Right. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to go there. We have an Avon Mesuteres. And I'm not worse than him. I also have an Avon Mesuteres. Why am I doing Averis? If I have Avos Hashem, why am I doing Averis? It says, Elo, Shenichnas Bei Ruach Shtus. There's a Ruach Shtus. What's the Ruach Shtus? All kinds of Torahs here, just in a simple way. The Ruach Shtus is
it's not affecting my
of pleasure. The Elam Hazeh is so strong that it blinds me from making the right decision.
Right, but also the Ruach Shtus is that I'm not. A person's convinced that he's not. Right. He's not distancing himself from the Eibush. Right.
Yeah.
He justifies how he's still whatever.
The question is, what's the Ruach? Because I have a Ruach Shtus, therefore I convince myself, v'nid malay sheba'aveirezu, by doing this aveirezu, then it'll be able to say, I'm still a Jew.
I'm still connected.
Yeah, the ein dishmasei muvdelas melekei Yisrael. By doing this, he's not going to separate himself. There can be, and we're always, we're in a perpetual state of self-delusion.
Right. Listen, what is the Eibush? Listen, I'm so good. I love the Eibush so much. So you think it's gonna bother him that I did this? He knows I want to do it. He loves me so much. It's like the father. One thing is not.
And then he says, "V'gam sheikheach avasi l'Hashem amsuteres b'libeyi." In other words, the Kal Shebakalim, he forgets about it. He doesn't think about it. It's not on his mind. Avalani, but this person, the Beinani, the person striving to be a Beinani, he says, And then he writes Elias Shaita. I don't want to be a fool. A fool, the Gemara says, is El Shaita. I'm an Abed, Masha Noisim. He loses what you give him. That's a description of how to define it, right? And so the Chassidish Taich is that he's Ma'abed Ma, the Indian of Bittul, Chochmas, Kreach Ma. I told a story once here in the shul that Tzemach Tzedek, that they had a guy, he wasn't, somehow he lost his mind, and the wife wanted to get the ganze Meise. And so the guy, the Tzemach Tzedek, asked that they should bring him he should come into him. So the Tzemach Tzedek called him, he jumped in from the window, and he gave him a coin to go buy. He said, go buy me tobacco and paper and matches, whatever, a few things. For this amount of money, that amount of money, whatever. And the guy came back and he brought them. He said, okay, so, in other words, he's intelligent enough. Yeah, so Ma'abed Ma, he loses the. Yeah, so I don't want to be a sheikh to kamel. I don't want to deny the truth. I don't want to deny the Eibishter. So all this, the Alter Rebbe is explaining why the Beinani, first of all, what the Beinani does, right? What's the Avodah of the Beinani? The Avodah of the Beinani is in the Levushim. The Levushim are garments. Garments is not my essence. It's like to be an actor. You get in the role, and you act the role. You know.
It doesn't represent your.
You know, yeah. You're not. It's not plastic surgery. It's a leizvos. You're not becoming a different person through and through. It's not levush. So by the Beinani, what's being asked of him to take on a persona, you know, and to be, you know, not to want to be separate from the Eibishter, and not to worry about deep down in your heart that you want to do something wrong and you have taivus. All of these things you could suppress them. You could be kovish ta'avosei, and in certain things you could completely, you know, you squash them, and other things. I don't know. Rabbi Greenglass, he speaks over here about the difference between Musar and you know, and Chassidus, and he says, you know, it's like, imagine that in that Musar wants to muzzle the dog is biting. The dog, you know, whatever, it bites. So what do? They put a muzzle on the dog. He can't bite. And what is, you know, what's the other approach? Knock out its teeth. I don't know, such a good mother. In other words, yes, but I can't nicht. You know, I don't know, whatever. In other words, somehow in the Aveda of the Beinani, that he's not so fierce. He's not. It's not like if you take the muzzle off for a second, he's going to go do it. That they gave him
muzzle prevention. It's a prevention.
Yeah. In other words, inside really, it's as fierce as ever. No, there's a change. He understands. He made it this, you know, like. The end. In other words, he put an end. You know, in the union of Iskafia, it's like, you know, people know you can't smoke a little bit. If you smoke a little bit, you. So that's it. You know. So it comes to Taivus in different Eifanim.
This guy Kremnizer from Australia, you know.
Who wrote a book?
He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So he said the same thing with when he started keeping Shabbos. He's a chain smoker. He says, if I need to keep Shabbos, the only thing I have to do is stop. Otherwise, I can't. There's no such thing. Okay, tomorrow I'm gonna have another cigarette. So he basically stopped cold turkey. There was no choice. You have to stop at this time.
You're welcome to the Shul Motzei Shabbos Club.
Yeah.
When it comes to those inyanim that are in the heart, we're going to go a little bit quicker, because it's two parts to Perek. The Hainu, Sheyei Ramos Mamish Belev, the Soni B'Tachlisin, Eyafilu Shalei B'Tachlisin, right? That he should take hate Ra. You can't truly hate Ra ella al yedei gedel v'tekef ha'aval Hashem. It's only as a result when you have incredible Avos Hashem. B'bchinas ava b'tanugin l'z'aneg al Hashem yein elam haba. That it's so pleasurable that the Taivas Elam Hazeh, they don't talk to you, they're mias. There's just a different value in the world. There's something else that gives you the pleasure. Chazal tell us about this darga, that it's a gift. It's Elam Chatire B'Hayecha. You're being rewarded Elam Haba in this world. It's Me'ein Elam Haba.
That's a tzaddik, or this is even
a the ain't kol adam zeichel lazeh. Not everyone merits such an Indian. You can't. Not everyone can. He says kizel ke'ein kibul schar. It's like mamish being rewarded in this world. Okediksiv avedas matana etenes kehunaschem. This Indian of kahuna is a gift. It's a matana. Commission is ba'av mokemachet. Now the Alter Rebbe comes again to answer the shaila of what we learned on the first page of Tanya, that we have a question. The Alter Rebbe says, how Eve said, Hashem, you created tzaddikim, barosa tzaddikim, barosa l'shayim. So what do you mean? The Alter Rebbe said, tzaddik barosa leikama. Everyone has bechira. What do you mean? So now the Alter Rebbe is going to say, no, you see, since to be a tzaddik at this level is a gift. It's a matana from the Eibishter, Avedis matana, to have Ava b'tanugim. So that's barosa. That Hashem creates. Not everyone can. It's a certain conditioning. From birth you have to be created differently.
That's a can, but everybody that was created as a tzaddik, the ability of a tzaddik doesn't necessarily become a tzaddik.
That's
right?
Correct. That's why he says barosa tzaddikim barosa. In other words, that person still has to have avodah. Even the edler person has to have avodah. Yeah, barosa tzaddikim. Kedisa b'tikunim, it says in Tikunei Zoya. So what's the Alter Rebbe trying to say? There are different types of neshamas. He says sheyesh b'neshamas Yisrael kama mini madregis u'bechinis. The Tikunei Zoya goes in the order of the spheres. There are chasidim, people whose life is about helping people. People whose life is about kindness. And then there are Geborim. There are people whose life is about being a warrior. Hamizgabrim al Yitzram. And then there are Yidden whose Avodah is Morei Torah. They mamish be an incredible dveikus to Hashem in Torah. They learn, that's their whole life. Learning Torah, that's Tiferes, that's Midas HaTiferes. Yaakov Avinu was Ishtam, Yeshiva Holim. And then there's Nevi'im, right? You have Yidden, whatever it means to be, to see, that they could see. It's also the union of Netzach. And Tzaddikim here is Yesod. Like Tzaddik Yesod.
Simple people?
No. In other words, he's trying to say that the Eibusha created people that have not lahavdil. You know, the Gemara says that there's a famous Gemara that somebody was born in a bad mazel, right? Mazel Maidim, right? The Mars, right? Says, oh, you have to wear a yarmulke. If you're not going to wear a yarmulke, it's going to be a sheifach damim, right? Also, then he became a sheikhet, right? In other words, there's people that have a conditioning from their birth. So you have people who have a conditioning that their Indian is chesed. In other words, right?
Personality, character.
We're going to say to Moshe Rubashkin that he has to go to Kotel now. He has to he has to write Shilas and Shuvas.
He's in Kotel the whole day. So.
Right? What do you mean? His life, chesed, what do you mean? This is Avraham Avinu's tent. This is not Medaf helping Yidden. You have to have the imagination. Not everyone has the hasoga. How to help. You have to have, you have to have an idea to how to truly help people. So that you have people that are Hasidim. And then Morei Torah, obviously, for some people, you have to have success to be in Dveikus when you're learning Torah. See? And Tzaddik Yisrael Elam is also in the union of Shmiras Abris, in an incredible level. It's a very strange thing to say. One of the Musar, the Tzaddik HaKohen, he has a sefer, Yisrael Kedoshim. Yeah, what brings a Jew to holiness? Right? In other words, the area of Kedusha, Tzadik Yisod Olam, is the union of Kedusha and Shmiras Abris, that a person makes sure to be in a pure space, that there's no machshavas zoros, and there's no behaviors that are inappropriate, to be in a pure place. So so we see in the Tikkun Ezaya that there's that different neshamas are conditioned differently, and that's what Yev is saying. Barasa tzadikim, but that's not by every person. Say Yuva now will understand. In addition, now that we see that's the pshat in Barasa tzadikim, we'll understand Kefa Lashon Hashvua. Why the Alter Rebbe says both expressions, Tehi Tzadik, Val Tehi Lashon. L'chura Tamua. Himeachash Mashbiyah may say Tehi Tzadik. You already said Tehi Tzadik. Salom Atzricha Mashbiyah Eich Eloi Yerasha. Why do you have to tell them don't be Yerasha? Elo. Mishum she'en kol adam zeichel is Tzadik. Not everyone merits. Ve'ein la'adam mishpat ha'bechira bazak kol kach. It's not it's not up to you that much. What's not up to you? That you should be able, with your own thinking, with your own meditation, to have such an influence on your heart that you can have real Avas Hashem, Ava B'Tanugim. You could be thirsty, you could be yearning, you could have a tshuka, but to have tainug like that, it's not. You don't have the bechira, and that would lead sheyeh hara mos mamish be'emes. When you have that avat, so when not everyone is in that place. So therefore, v'lachem arbiyim shenis al tehi rasha al kol panim. And some people say, well, if that's the case, the shvua should have been first al tehi rasha, and then tehi tzadik. Whatever, okay. Also, fine. Shebazeh nishpat habechire v'reshus nesuna l'chalada. And again, the lashon Rambam, reshus nesuna. Everyone is granted. There are two paths. Choose the right path. Limshel.
But it's much simple. If you cannot be tzaddik,
Right.
don't be rosh.
Okay.
Right, but if you're saying already don't be a Rosh, then you start rubbing in the guy's face. Then can be a tzaddik.
So you're saying,
Try to be a
Hashem,
tzaddik, and if you don't make it to that level, at least don't go the other way.
No, it's not only.
No, you'll see why.
It's not only the level. It's you're speaking to the people that could be a tzaddik. So you're not going to come back to the guy who would be a tzaddik and tell him don't be a Rosh. Okay, then don't be a tzaddik.
No, the Rebbe is going to teach the tzaddik that he wants you to exercise practicing to be a tzaddik. He says, you know what? I want you to make times to think about, just meditate about it. Go watch how they make hot dogs, and you'll never eat a hot dog again. Right? Go be mizbainen. There's a story in Gemara that a guy saw an animal. They shechted the animal, they cut it, and then they put it up on the grill, and they couldn't eat it. I remember hearing some kind of interview once, a farmer or whatever, and they had a sheep, and then it came to supper, and the mother says to the kids, "That's Dolly," whatever. It was a different name, and the kid was like, "What? They can't." He said, "Oh, you want to eat strangers? You rather eat strangers." That's the Chabakanta, what's schlecht. But to think about being mizbainen, that to lead, that you should be mayas bara, even though it can't be. Again, even though by tzaddikim, the miyas doesn't come from being mizbainen that it's ugly.
Right.
But for us, we're going to spend, right? So that's what the tzaddik means. You should be mizbainen. The Mendel Marozov used to say, "Was is a mensch? A mensch is a dreck machine." Right? That's you manufacture. There's input, right? In a factory, right? There's the process and then output. What does a mensch? In other words, think about a frui. Was a frui? Echet cheves moleitzeya. Moleitzeya. That's the tehit tzaddik. His blameless. He's not saying here. You understand? Alter Rebbe is giving tehit tzaddik Asius. He's turning it into. So let's see. We're jumping ahead a little bit. He says, to control it. That's like the muzzle. Velich beish yitzrei, that's like knocking out the teeth. Shlayir rosha, afilusha achas kol yomov. Every person has the bechira, bein bebchina sur meira, bein bebchina v'asei toiv. And remember that the ein toiv ela Torah. The Gemara says, toiv is Torah, dahainu, Talmud Torah shekeneget kulan, like the Alter Rebbe said in Perek Hey, that when you learn Torah, you're having the greatest dveikus, yichud niflo, you're having the greatest connection. Because for the Beinani, ledofka b'Hashem, that's what he said before. You want to be close to Hashem. Yeah. Afal became, even though he can't be a tzaddik, tzarich ligboya lo'itim. You have to set aside times gamkin. Loshis eitzes benafshe. You have to look for ways. Yeah. Liyas mayas bara. You have to look for ways, you know. It doesn't mean to eat so much chocolate till you're nauseous, right? Kegain, ba'atzascha chomeinu zal, isha, is a chemes malei yatzeichol. Uchai gavna. Other examples like this. Now, in Perek Zayin, when we learned about the different Averis and in Perek Ches, so over there where, you know, you have this discussion that the Alter Rebbe speaks about Macholim Asurim and Bias Asuris. A person's connection with food that you eat, you know, you are what you eat, or like that, you know, a person eats treifis, or, you know, these things, and then also with Bias Asuris, so you could bring a child into the world. That's, in other words, a person has a child with someone they're not let him marry. There's a reishim that remains forever. So in these two things, it's different than other inyonim of taiva. Even a person bow to Avodah Zarah, Michas v'Shalom, right? But
so physically, there's a
difference. There's this. So the Alter Rebbe brings dafka in these two things. Dafka with Bias Asuris and with Macholis Asuris, he brings these meditations. So
it's both ways. If you have something that's good and you talk about it and you, the more you sort of PR it, the more and more the person's going to want it, and the more he's going to be attracted to something. If you talk down about something, after a while, right. Even with kids.
You're talking about the process. You're talking about that if you do this, it will be effective.
No, that's what it says. What is it? Can't call me in time of dying. So the person, if you're gonna say that these things are disgusting and you're gonna play it out in your head like how they're not, they're right. Against, then you'll talk and build up a disgust for it. Yeah. So it's a process. Just like Chachma, the
spheres, the journey of the spheres.
Of the
yeah, it says everything that you eat was right from them. All the pleasures of the world, meaning in me. The end is shesef and lirkin. The body is going to rot. All these rim of ashpas, all it's garnished. We're not talking about taivas avamaza. A person has a gold earring, so that the gold is not going to be rim of ashpa. Yeah, okay, many taivas, you know what's going to be from it, the rim of ashpa. But the whole idea, the pleasure that he had from it was black. What remains from it? Nothing. So that's on one hand the avodah to be misboinen. And what happens? There are different ways of understanding sometimes the Alter Rebbe brings a very deep shot. Means the Chacham sees
afterwards it's going to be nothing.
How everything comes into existence. That in another place in Tanya he brings that idea. Yeah, that everything is created. Hashem is creating you. Where is it? No.
See where it was born from.
Yeah, that you see how it's being created. Over here he's saying Seifon. What's Seifon?
What will be the end?
No, what will be the end? What will happen with this? What will happen with what will happen with the item?
No, but also the taiva itself. Like you said, the taiva right now it seems like it's whatever. but in 5 minutes from now, there's nothing left. So you see it, the knowledge, you see that in 5 minutes there's nothing there. So what's the purpose?
Yeah.
It's not.
In other words, I remember hearing the story that the Alter Rebbe, they called it was a Simchas Torah. They called them up and they gave a lot of titles, whatever. So then the Alter Rebbe, afterwards, after davening, they heard the Alter Rebbe in his room, very upset, and he was repeating the titles. He was repeating, right?
I'm trying to figure it out.
Right. So So I never understood the story as a kid when I heard it, and then as an adult, I don't remember where I read it or I heard it by a Fabrengen, but basically, imagine you telling yourself your praises, right? The smartest, the great, right? The person. In other words, it's so right. It's such a. The Alter Rebbe was rephrasing it that he shouldn't have any yeshus from it, and I had such a shock. Like, oh, when someone repeats the same words, but you're the one saying it, it becomes so senseless. So you have to have the seichel,
the processing,
to see just from a different position. So seifan lirke, lias ridma va'ashpa, and then the other side is lis'anei v'lismeach b'Hashem, that he should bring into him, he should try to have time, try to be sameach v'simchas Hashem. How? At the Izbeinus b'Gdolas and Yisrael Baruch Hu kefi acholte, as much as he can. Meaning, even though we don't have the power, that our mind, an ordinary person, doesn't have that type of control, that his mind should be able to impact his heart so much. But nevertheless, he should try. He says, Av sheyedeh benafshi, even though he knows. Shaleyagia l'madregezu be'emes la'amitay. The little bit that he's going to have, it's a dimyon. Why is it a dimyon? Here the Alter Rebbe doesn't say dimyon is shov. He doesn't say that it's fake, but it's going to go away. In other words, it's a little.
He's imagining.
He's besimcha now.
You sit in your room.
There's
and
a little glimpse,
and you regurgitate what you heard, and you're like, "What the heck is this?" But at the end of the day, the Alter Rebbe is saying that sitting somewhere, and whether you're misbinding against something or you're misbinding towards something, it's a process. Whether it sticks or not, is up to.
And that's going to be his avodah, to practice being a tzaddik.
It's not up to you.
So afal pikein, even though it's only going to be b'dimyonis, hu yasas shaloi lekayim es hashvuah shmashbiyim ti tzaddik. He's going to do what he can to be mekayim the shvuah. V'Hashem yasa atoiv beinov. The rest is up to the Eibishter. Meaning, I'm going to make the keli. Just like the tzaddik, for him, the simcha is a gift.
The shvuah of Tehiyah tzaddik doesn't mean that you should become a tzaddik. It means that by doing this thing, is you're fulfilling your obligation of becoming a tzaddik.
Yeah, in other words,
otherwise you talk about
exactly right. Your avodah is the work. The result. That's the Eibishter's business. Hashem yasa tev beinu. The oid, and more than that, says the Alter Rebbe. We know that also the Alter Rebbe, Maisa with the Alter Rebbe, that they said the Chassidim are fakers, right? Shehahergel al kol davar. You get used to something, you practice. So shilton, v'nasa tev Hashem. It becomes al kol var shilton. Hahergel al kol var shilton. Everything that you think about something that's that modifies the way you behave.
And it actually takes
so nasa tev Hashem, it becomes second nature. In other words, even though it's not your first nature, even though it's not your first response, but it could become a tev Hashem, a learned nature. It could become. When a person will get used to it, V'yisarusa de lasate, yisarusa de leila. He'll be me'eder by the Eibishter, v'kula hai v'ulai. Yara olav ruach memorim. Hashem will inspire him. V'yizka lebchinas ruach. From the level of ruach, misheirish eze tzadik. In other words, the Neshamas Yisrael are klal prat. Right? They are Shishim Ribui Neshamas Klolius, and then there are Protius Dike Neshamas. What do we say? The Rebbe is the Neshama Klolis. The Neshama Klolis has Protim inside. You have Sari Chamishim, Sari Meis, Sari. Right? Sari. In other words, that's the way the Neshamas are built. So a tzaddik, that he's a prat from that tzaddik, so a chelek, a spirit from that tzaddik, will impregnate him. Shetis aberboy, it will be b'bchinas ibur inside of you. In other words, you have the inyan, we hear about the inyan of gilgulim. A gilgul means that a neshama is being squashed into something. That's one oifen, that the neshama is punished by putting it into something. The inyan of ibur is, there's you, there's your keiches, there's your, and inside of you, there's something more that's animating you. Just like when a mother's pregnant, that she feels that there's a life inside of her that's kicking, and so inside of you, there's a ubar. What's the ubar? The ubar is simcha. And that's why it's the ruach of the tzaddik. Right? The ruach, that's the midas. It says that there are four dargas there are four names for people. Yeah, therefore there's Adam, Ish, Enosh, Gever. Four titles that people are given. The title Ish, like Moshe Rabbeinu, Ish Elikim. Yeah, Ish is a Rosh Tevis, Ave Yira Simcha. Right? In other words, what is Lefi Sichla Yehud Ish? The midas are Lefi Erech, the person's mind. So Adam is Moichin, and Ish is midas. So a tzaddik, his spirit, his chayas, his simcha, will come inside of you and be mesameach you. That you should be able, that's the shetis aberboy, lavid Hashem, the simcha midas. That's the simcha. And from the tzaddik, it's taka emes simcha. Kidiksiv. Simchu tzaddikim Hashem. It's interesting. Simchu, the way he's is that you're making simcha. You're causing simcha.
So you say it's not a natural.
Causing, it's like that one force is causing simcha in the other person. Once a person has such an inyan of ibur, when a person is zoichet to get such a spirit from a tzaddik, then we'll be able to be mekayim be'emes the shvua shemashbiyim tihi tzaddik, because he'll have the simcha and he'll have the mius and it'll be be'emes. You know, also you could say this, simchu tzaddikim. There are different levels. There are some people that taka mitzad their own level, they're zoichet to this inyan, and then others that they're being given a matana through another tzaddik. It's kind of be'emes, yeah. So Yashikoya Chevre. That is Perek Yudalid. Thank you for those who joined online. Atzlacha Rabbah.